Across the world, there are villages so dangerous and isolated that they seem to challenge anyone who dares to approach them. They perch on narrow mountain ridges, cling to unstable cliffs, or hide deep within harsh and unforgiving landscapes where survival has never been guaranteed. How were they able to build and sustain these villages in places where simply setting foot is already a life-threatening challenge? Many of these communities must constantly endure devastating natural disasters where storms, flash floods, or landslides can turn everything into ruin in a matter of moments. Here, everything revolves around survival, as people adapt each day to endure nature's most extreme conditions. Welcome to the world's most dangerous villages, where the line between life and danger remains breathtakingly thin. Hidden among the towering cliffs of Wangian Valley in China, a cluster of multi-level wooden buildings clings to the rock walls, making the entire valley look like an ancient city hanging between sky and stone. The surrounding cliffs rise roughly 650 to 980 feet high and were shaped over millions of years by wind and water erosion, forming a dramatic natural amphitheater. Traditional wooden structures are stacked vertically along the cliff face, with several levels built upward to adapt to the narrow and steep terrain. In the early morning, thick mist often drifts through the cliffs, making the buildings appear as if they are floating in the clouds. At night, hundreds of red lanterns and warm lights illuminate the valley, reflecting on the rock walls and water to create a scene that feels almost mythical. Standing inside this valley, visitors can clearly feel the harmony between powerful nature and traditional architecture, a view many travelers describe as one of the most striking mountain landscapes in China. Setenil de las Bodegas is a unique town in southern Spain, famous around the world for homes built directly beneath massive natural rock overhangs. Its most remarkable feature is that many streets and houses sit under enormous rocks weighing thousands of tons that extend out from the cliff above. Walking through the streets feels like moving inside a giant open cave, yet the town is filled with ordinary homes, restaurants, and everyday life. Since the 12th century, residents have learned to live beneath these natural stone roofs, allowing the cliff itself to become a strong and lasting shelter. This unusual harmony between human homes and natural rock formations has made the town one of the most extraordinary places in the world, where people literally live inside the structure of nature. And because the entire town sits beneath massive stone ceilings hanging overhead, it is often considered one of the most unusual and potentially dangerous villages on Earth. Canalig in Azerbaijan sits about 7,700 feet above sea level, and the moment you arrive, the entire village appears like layers of stone houses clinging to a steep mountainside. At elevations above 6,600 feet, the air holds about 20% less oxygen than at sea level, so even a short walk up the rocky slopes quickly makes you feel the mountain in your lungs. The houses are built in a stepped design, where the roof of one home becomes the yard or pathway for the house above it, making the village feel like a living stone pyramid stacked on the hillside. Despite these harsh conditions, a small community has preserved its mountain traditions and unique language for generations, turning the village into a living cultural time capsule. But the steep terrain can also be dangerous because many narrow paths run along slopes that drop hundreds of feet, and a single slip on wet or icy stone steps can quickly turn into a serious fall. Craco is a town built on a massive limestone outcrop, yet underneath it lies soft, pliable, white clay. In the 1960s, installing modern water and sewage pipes allowed leaks to seep into the clay, weakening the foundations and triggering a terrifying landslide that forced the entire population to flee. Surrounding Craco are the stark white Kalanchi erosion gullies, so barren and stripped that not even a blade of grass or a living creature can survive there. Director Mel Gibson chose Craco as the filming location for the hanging scene of the villain Judas in The Passion of the Christ. It is one of the few tourist sites in the world where you must wear a hard safety helmet and enter only with a guide by your side. The danger does not come from wild animals or criminals, but from the fact that a 500-year-old brick can fall onto your head at any moment because the ground and structure remain extremely unstable. Gamsutle, an abandoned stone village in Russia, with ancient houses clinging to a steep mountainside so tightly that the entire settlement looks as if it could slide into the valley at any moment. The village stands about 4,920 feet above sea level, where steep terrain and deep valleys forced people to build homes directly along the natural stone steps of the mountain. Most houses were built from local stone and stacked closely together, so the roof of one home nearly lines up with the pathway of another, forming a layered maze across the slope. The danger lies in the fact that many paths are narrow tracks along steep edges, where one wrong step could send someone falling hundreds of feet down the mountain. The mountain climate is harsh, with strong winds and winter temperatures that can drop to about 14 degrees Fahrenheit, making daily life extremely difficult for the people who once lived here. Today, passing its crumbling stone walls and empty windows feels like standing inside a frozen mountain city where time itself seems to have stopped. Predjama in Slovenia feels like a castle the mountain tried to swallow, clinging to a cliff about 404 feet high. When you stand there and look up, cold air spills out of the cave, and even small sounds snap back as echoes, making everything feel bigger and darker. Behind those walls, a cave system about 9 miles long runs through 4 levels, and it's easy to picture how quickly you could lose your sense of direction. Inside, the passageways tighten and the stone steps stay damp, so you slow down without thinking, one hand on the wall and your eyes fixed on your footing. At sunset, the rock turns a deep rust red, and the castle fades into shadow like a doorway opening into the earth. And when you remember this place is tied to old siege stories, it can feel like the air still holds a trace of that pressure. Ushguli in Georgia is an ancient village set deep in the towering Caucasus Mountains, where stone houses and medieval defensive towers stand silently amid a harsh and frozen landscape that feels almost untouched by the modern world. During winter, powerful snowstorms can bury the narrow mountain roads, turning the village into a remote settlement that may remain cut off from the outside world for weeks or even months. Tall and narrow stone towers built in the Middle Ages rise above the village like family fortresses, once used as shelters whenever conflict or danger threatened the community. Surrounding the settlement are steep mountain slopes, icy winds, and vast fields of snow that create a breathtaking but constantly dangerous environment for those who live there. The rugged terrain, unpredictable weather, and intense winter storms mean that daily life in this mountain village often becomes a real test of endurance and survival. This striking combination of wild nature, centuries-old stone architecture, and relentless climate has made Ushguli one of the most dangerous yet mesmerizing villages on Earth. Gasadalur sits in the Faroe Islands in the middle of the North Atlantic, more than 186 miles from mainland Europe, so it truly feels cut off from the modern world. The whole area is built from volcanic basalt layers formed roughly 50 to 60 million years ago when ancient lava erupted and cooled beneath the ocean. For centuries, people here lived as a small farming community, relying mainly on sheep raising and coastal fishing to survive. Because powerful winds blow year-round, tall trees are rare. Most of the landscape is low grass and wind-hardened shrubs, simple at first glance, but intensely wild. To handle the cold and the gusts, many homes use thick grass roofs, which help retain warmth and keep the buildings steadier in harsh weather. What makes it unforgettable is how fast the weather flips. In as little as 15 to 20 minutes, the view can jump from bright sunshine to heavy fog, like watching a movie scene change in real time. Podo is an ancient village hidden deep in the rugged mountains of Portugal, known for its remote location that makes it feel completely separated from the modern world. Podo is often called the Blue Stone Village because most of its houses are built from dark slate taken directly from the surrounding mountains. Almost every building in the village is made from natural slate, and even the roofs are covered with the same stone, creating a rare and striking blue-gray landscape. For centuries, the village remained nearly isolated because traveling through the steep mountain roads was extremely difficult, so residents relied mostly on small terrace farms to produce their own food. Most construction materials were taken directly from nearby mountains, making it possible to build homes in such a hard-to-reach location. Oymyakon is a place where cold feels like a weight on your skin because it is one of the coldest permanently lived-in spots on Earth. Its famous record drops to about -90 degrees Fahrenheit, a level where even a few minutes outside can feel like survival. It sits in northeastern Siberia, inside a natural cold trap, where heavier cold air gets held in place, so deep freezers last longer and do not escape easily. In winter, the landscape looks unreal and quiet. Dry snow, stove smoke hanging in the air, and your breath can turn into tiny, sparkling ice dust. Rinconada is a town where people live almost touching the sky, because it sits at about 16,700 feet, high enough to make even simple walking feel breathless. At this height, the air holds only about half the oxygen found at sea level. So many newcomers feel dizzy and must slow their breathing. The place is famous as one of the highest permanent settlements on Earth, and for the gold rush that pulled thousands of people to live on this icy mountain slope. Around 40,000 residents live here, with simple metal houses stacked along the slope like a rough city of tin and steel. But danger is always present because thin air, freezing weather, and risky gold mining make everyday life in La Rinconada a true test of survival. Clinging to a limestone cliff about 394 feet high, Rocamadour in France looks like a stone city suspended between the sky and the valley, creating one of the most unusual architectural sites in the world. The entire village is built vertically along the rock wall, where ancient stone buildings are stacked on top of each other, and many houses more than 700 years old still stand firmly thanks to walls nearly 3 feet thick. The dramatic landscape here was formed from ancient limestone created around 200 million years ago, when layers of marine sediment slowly turned into massive karst cliffs shaped by rainwater over millions of years. What makes Rocamadour truly remarkable is that although only about 600 people live here, the village attracts more than 1 million visitors every year who come to see a settlement that seems to defy gravity. Few places in the world combine dramatic natural geology and centuries-old architecture like Rocamadour, where every narrow stone street and ancient wall tells a story that has lasted for hundreds of years. Bonifacio sits on white limestone cliffs in France, where the old town clings to an edge more than 328 feet above the sea, like a fortress hanging in the air. The limestone is constantly carved by wind and waves, so the cliffs look bright and clean, but also sharp and fragile, a beauty that comes with real risk if you get careless. Because the ground drops so steeply, the old town grew with defense in mind, using stone walls, controlled access, and lookout points to turn height into protection and to watch the approaches from the sea. Even with a population around 3,000, it draws heavy marine traffic, with sources citing close to 10,000 port visits per year, showing how strategic location can outweigh size. Taken together, Bonifacio is a lesson in human choice, living on a dangerous edge to gain advantage, and turning rock, wind, and sea into both natural defense and cultural character. Cuenca in Spain grabs you instantly because its old city looks like it's hanging off a limestone cliff nearly 3,117 feet above sea level. Over millions of years, water and wind carved the rock into deep gorges about 328 to 492 feet down, turning the city into a natural fortress. Many historic houses sit right on the edge, with wooden balconies reaching out roughly 7 to 10 feet, so they feel like they float in mid-air. Inside the old town, some streets are only about 7 to 10 feet wide and run along steep drops, making every walk feel thrilling and tense. UNESCO listed Cuenca as a World Heritage Site in 1996 because this bold medieval design has survived for around 600 years in such extreme terrain. But the same dramatic cliffs can be dangerous, since some edges rise more than 328 feet, and natural rockfalls have happened before, so parts of the city have been reinforced for safety. Zhongdong in China is a strange village built entirely inside a massive limestone cave, where an entire community lives under a natural stone ceiling that feels like a giant train station carved into the mountain. The cave is about 755 feet long, about 377 feet wide, and more than 164 feet high, creating enough space to fit a small village inside. Beneath the jagged cave roof are simple wooden homes where people cook, live, and raise livestock in the shadowy light that slips in from the cave entrance. This mix of a gigantic cave, an isolated way of life, and a harsh natural environment is what makes Zhongdong one of the strangest and most dangerous villages ever known. Iruya is a mountain village in northern Argentina, famous because its homes and streets seem to stick to the cliff, making the whole place look like it is hanging in mid-air against a giant natural backdrop. The land around it was shaped by mountain uplift over tens of millions of years, carving deep valleys and rock walls that rise hundreds of feet above the settlement. Many houses are built from local stone and packed earth, painted white to reflect strong mountain sun and to stand out against the red and brown rock around them. Stone paths here climb slopes of about 20 to 30 degrees and twist along the mountainside, so walking through the village can feel like climbing a huge natural staircase. The air here has about 30% less oxygen than at sea level, so even a short walk can make many visitors notice their breathing change. Monemvasia is a historic fortress city in Greece built directly on a massive rock rising from the sea, and from a distance it looks like a giant stone ship permanently anchored in the water. The rock rises about 984 feet high and stretches roughly 1 mile long, forming a huge natural wall that hides the city behind steep cliffs when viewed from the open sea. The entire settlement is surrounded by thick stone fortifications with only one entrance, turning it into a fortress that remained extremely difficult to conquer for centuries. Inside the walls, narrow stone streets climb and twist between tightly packed houses built from local rock to withstand strong sea winds year-round. At sunset, golden light reflects across the stone walls, and the entire rock begins to glow like an ancient fortress rising from the ocean. Walking through the old stone gate and into its winding alleys feels like stepping directly into a living medieval city surrounded by endless sea. Gunib makes a striking first impression because the entire settlement hangs on a rocky plateau in the Caucasus Mountains, creating the feeling that people are living on top of a massive natural fortress. Around the plateau rise cliffs from 656 to 1,312 feet high, forming an almost closed natural wall that makes the place feel both grand and clearly separated from the world below. This landform gives Gunib a rare appearance because the whole living space seems locked inside a stone stronghold shaped by nature over a very long time. Yet the road up to Gunib has many sharp bends, steep grades, and sections cut directly into the mountainside, so travel in fog or winter can become dangerous, making the beauty of this place feel even more intense and unforgettable. al-Jazil is a remarkable ancient village located in Yemen, famous for its almost unbelievable geographic location. The village is built on top of a high rock formation in the middle of a desert valley, making the entire settlement look like a natural fortress, standing apart from the surrounding world. From above, al-Jazil looks like a rocky island rising from a sea of dry sand. Most of the houses are built from sun-dried mud bricks, a traditional material that keeps the interiors cool during the day and warm at night. The image of this small village standing precariously on a rock in the middle of the valley has become one of the symbolic landscapes of Yemen. In the middle of Yemen's dry desert stands Shibam, an ancient skyscraper city where hundreds of mud brick towers rise straight from the burning ground like a skyline from another era. What makes this place astonishing is that many of these buildings reach about 5 to 11 stories and have existed since around the 16th century, making Shibam one of the earliest vertical cities ever built. The entire historic city covers only about 0.1 square miles, yet it contains hundreds of tightly packed earth towers that form a vertical maze in the middle of the desert. Its mud brick walls, often about 2 to 3 feet thick, help keep the inside cooler than the outside desert heat that can climb above 104 degrees Fahrenheit. This dramatic mix of towering mud architecture, harsh desert climate, and centuries of human survival has turned Shibam into one of the most extraordinary and vulnerable ancient cities on Earth. Galdar lies in a wide valley surrounded by ancient volcanoes and rocky hills. The houses in Galdar often display bright colors such as yellow, blue, and red, creating a strong contrast with the dark basalt ground. The town's architecture combines traditional Spanish style with the distinctive architectural traditions of the Canary Islands. The streets of the town are usually narrow and winding, giving the feeling of walking through an old mountain village. Visitors can walk through the historic streets of Galdar and from higher points enjoy wide views of the valley and the surrounding ancient volcanic slopes. One of the main dangers around Galdar is that the surrounding terrain was formed by ancient volcanic rock and steep hills where rare but intense rainstorms can sometimes cause soil erosion and rock slides in certain areas. Masouleh in Iran grabs you instantly, a terraced village where the roof of one home becomes the street and front yard of the home above, like the mountainside was built into a living staircase. Walking in feels different because there are almost no cars, so you notice footsteps on stone steps, wind in narrow passages, and real human life instead of engine noise. Homes are made mostly from stone, wood, and clay, finished in warm earth tones that stand out in the mist and help hold heat when nights dip near 32 degrees Fahrenheit. What sticks with you is the message. Instead of forcing the land to fit a road, people here let the mountain be the blueprint, and that choice kept the village alive for generations. Guoliang village is a place that looks glued to a vertical cliff, where standing near the edge instantly shows how powerful height can feel. It sits in the Taihang Mountains at nearly 6,000 feet, so morning fog often pours over the rock like smoke, making the landscape vanish and return in pieces. In the past, the brutal terrain kept the village almost isolated, and daily life depended on dangerous paths, as if people lived side by side with the abyss. In 1972, 13 villagers began carving a passage about 1 mile long, through solid rock, working for about 5 years with simple tools to open a road for vehicles. Inside the tunnel, windows cut into open-air flashlight across the walls, and every glance outside can make your pulse drop for a second. Guoliang is famous because it feels like a dare. When people unite, they can carve a way to life straight through stone, even with sweat and loss. Villa Las Estrellas is a real lived-in village in Antarctica, where bright roofs on white ice signal that humans can still live here. The village sits about 33 feet above sea level, so cold, damp wind can hit the walkways and turn a short distance into an endurance test. So Villa Las Estrellas delivers a brutal lesson. At the edge of life, civilization means discipline, preparation, and knowing nature gives no second chances. Civita di Bagnoregio was built on a volcanic tuff rock formation created from compressed volcanic ash and materials hundreds of thousands of years ago. The cliffs surrounding the town rise more than 330 feet, forming a natural wall around the entire settlement. Many houses in the town were constructed from local volcanic tuff stone, allowing the buildings to blend naturally with the surrounding environment. The surrounding hills have been eroded into sharp and wave-shaped formations, creating a landscape that looks almost like an alien world. The ancient stone houses with walls about 2 feet thick were built from local rock, helping the structures stay warm at night and cool during the day. Over more than 2,500 years, rain and wind have slowly eroded the clay beneath the plateau, causing the ground around the town to gradually wash away and form dramatic rock spires and rolling hills. Baoshan Stone Town stands on a massive rock about 328 feet high, where the entire village looks like it rises straight out of stone, almost like a natural fortress in the wild landscape. The settlement covers only about 0.04 square miles, yet the steep terrain and surrounding cliffs once made it a nearly perfect defensive position for centuries. Houses here are built almost entirely from local stone, from walls to stairways and even rooftops, making the whole town feel like part of the geology itself. Some of these stone homes have stood for about 300 to 400 years, showing how earlier communities used simple materials to create durable living spaces. Walking through narrow stone lanes, only about 3 to 6 feet wide, feels like entering an ancient maze where every step carries the marks of time. Because homes, streets, and cliffs blend together so completely, Baoshan's stone town becomes a rare example of how people turned a single block of rock into a lasting human settlement. The city of Ronda in Spain amazes visitors at first sight because the entire town appears to hang over a canyon about 330 feet deep, making the white houses look as if they are floating between the sky and the cliffs. The city is built on a vast rocky plateau where steep cliffs open wide views across deep valleys and distant mountain ranges stretching toward the horizon. The huge canyon cutting through the city was carved by water erosion over millions of years, leaving almost vertical rock walls as tall as a 30-story building. Many historic structures here have stood for more than 500 years, built from stone taken directly from the surrounding cliffs, so the architecture blends naturally into the landscape. At sunset, the sunlight paints the cliffs in bright shades of orange and red, making the entire city look like an ancient fortress floating above a vast sea of mountains. This rare combination of dramatic terrain, deep history, and breathtaking scenery turns Ronda into a place where people seem to live right on the edge of nature itself. Aogashima is a village on a volcanic island in Japan, famous for a rare caldera within a caldera shape that looks like a giant bowl in the ocean. The island is only about 3 square miles, with roughly 6 miles of coastline and steep cliffs, so weather and terrain control almost every movement choice. The central basin is about 1 mile wide, and the highest point is about 1,388 feet, making it feel like a natural fortress with green inside, an open sea, and strong wind outside. In the late 1800s, eruptions forced a full evacuation in 1783, and by 1785, about 130 to 140 people died out of 327 as activity continued for years. After that disaster, the island stood empty for a long period before resettlement, and today only about 170 people live here, with plans tied tightly to supplies and weather.